pick some winners and then we say, let's go. So come on.
Welcome into a Friday edition of Betting Weekly Hardball. I am Doug Kezirian alongside professional bettor Chris Macero, and we have survived baseball's trade deadline. Light card yesterday. We turned the page to a busy weekend on tap. Chris, good to see you again. How are you, my man?
I'm all right. A little shell-shocked yesterday. Myself, like many others, were on the Reds yesterday, and we all saw what happened. 8 runs. You're up 3-0. You're down 11-3. You kind of give up, and next thing you know, it's 11-11, and you had a couple shots at it. Nobody out in the 8th after you tied it, and you got to the 9th and went quietly. And then, what the inevitable was, we kind of know in the gambling circles when the inevitable is coming, and sure enough, it came quickly as Braves got one in the 10th, and it was over. So just a roller coaster game. And somehow I got sucked into an over today. I never play overs when the early starts, but I thought Elder and Singer were ripe for some runs and a nice warm afternoon in Cincinnati, but not to be, in Atlanta, not to be the case. I don't know. I think it's it's still a shutout, correct? It's only like about 6 hits in this game. So an under that's going to die quickly.
Yeah, it's 1-0 right now, and who knows? Crazy stuff has happened in this series, as you mentioned yesterday. 8-8, both in the same inning. That's just the second time that's ever happened, and I appreciate someone who consumes betting content. I hope our listeners and our audience does, when you actually have people volunteer that they're on the opposite side of a good bet or whatever. That happens. And, we all have been there. Just when people don't mention it, it's kind of funny. So I appreciate your transparency. Reds right now at Bet Rivers, -295 on the live money line. 3.5, your live over-under in the top of the 7th. So, yeah, an early start there in Cincinnati after the fireworks last night. Pretty crazy to have back-to-back 8s. There was one ticket online on X. Someone had 8th inning Braves -0.5, and he posted it. And you got to think you're doing pretty well, up 8-0. All right, 3-run homer. Okay, all right, okay. And then of course they tie it with another 3-run shot. So pretty good stuff across the board if you are into the excitement. Hey, just want to remind everyone, we really appreciate it when you like and subscribe. So please do that. It's our currency in the YouTube world. And if you like what you hear on their shows, sign up for the newsletter, get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. And busy card today coming up, and so much opportunity here. I guess real quick, now that the dust has settled a little bit in the trade market, any futures, Chris, that jump out to you? I know there's was talking with the Bull yesterday. He thinks Bieber could be a giant sort of addition. I mean, it's a former Cy Young winner, and if he's right, the Blue Jays have the right guy, because that's what they're lacking in my eyes. A Scooble at the top of their rotation, something like that. Anybody in the futures market catch your eye or anything like that?
Well, I mean, these guys that are getting traded that haven't really pitched at all this year, like Bieber, so I can't get too excited about him. He might be good. He might be just, injured still. I'm not a big proponent of pitchers coming back late in the season. It seems to very, very rarely work out where they pitch well. Glasnow is actually doing it pretty well for the Dodgers, although he struggled his last outing. So I wouldn't get too excited about picking up a pitcher who hasn't been ramped up all season. How much is he really going to be able to give you? They're usually prone to another injury. You got to give credit to what the Padres did. They went above and beyond. It seemed like every 5 minutes yesterday, it was another alert on my phone that the Padres traded this guy, picked up this guy. They traded this. I mean, some of the moves I questioned a little bit. I know everyone's up in arms about giving up the number 3 prospect for Mason Miller, but they're going for it this year. The team, they don't have a big wealthy owner. The ownership is in flux. They sell out the stadium. They don't have a TV deal. They have no luxury box revenue. So they're basically going for it based on the fact that they're a winning team and they sell out the stadium. So this is pretty much, this might be a last-ditch effort. They're one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. So I've been on them since we talked about it 2 weeks ago for the division. I didn't get that 18-1 number. because by the time I got to a spot where I could get a nice future bet on it, it was down to 11-1. But I do have them at 11-1, and they're only 3 out. Like I said, and all the moves that they made, shoring up the catcher position with Freddie Furman. I didn't really like that they gave away 2 quality arms in that trade with Burgett, who just pitched on Tuesday night, pitched really well against the Mets. So it's just, there's a lot give and take. You got to wonder, if this star that they gave away, the number 3 prospect to the A's, is going to be, the next Tatis or the next, who knows? You never know. But I like that they went for it. On the downside, my Red Sox didn't do much of anything. Picked up Dusty May. I'm not even sure what that move was. They couldn't get the Joe Ryan deal done. They picked up Steven Matt. So the only thing I can look towards for the Red Sox is the saying that they have such a great unit right now that after they got rid of Devers, that everyone's so happy. You don't want to really shake up the apple cart per se. Everyone's really happy. They're playing well, young guys together, good camaraderie. Let's not trade one of our, fellow guys that, makes the engine kind of cook a little bit. So I'm happy that they kept, Duran. He's been hot lately. So we'll see what happens. A lot of teams made some moves. A lot of teams didn't. But, it's not like an earth-shattering trade deadline like back in the day, Randy Johnson, or, the biggest move was Suarez. So we'll see if Seattle can finally hit the ball. They got a win last night against Texas.
Yeah, it was a lot of moves, but no superstars. Although the Mariners added some very key bats. They are intriguing. And again, I talked about it with the Bull yesterday. So they are, to win the division, they're plus 245 to catch the Astros and surpass them. Now, the World Series, they're 15-1. I like their pitching, although it hasn't quite been as dominant as last year. I said in yesterday's show, I like Wu the best. Any interest in 15-1?
15-1. Can the Seattle Mariners, a team that's never even made the World Series, win the World Series? I would say probably not. I don't think they have the offense to go up against, say, the Dodgers or the Phillies, or even, I know the Padres haven't been hitting, but they have a good enough lineup where it comes to the playoffs. Guys have been there before. If you're going to bet a Seattle future, I would tailor it just to the American League, because the American League is obviously a lot less stringent than the National League. The National League, I was talking to somebody today, just absolutely loaded. This person had Dodgers, to win the NL, which I know a lot of other people have as well. But what a gauntlet you're going to have to go through. I know you're not going to have to play all the teams, but all the teams that are going to make the playoffs in the National League: Mets, Phillies, Padres, Dodgers, Brewers, Cubs. What a loaded slate. So I would tailor my futures bets, if you're inclined to play the Mariners, just to the American League.
About 7-1 in the AL.
Yeah, I'm not against it. They did pick up probably two of the better hitters, with Suarez obviously being the grand prize. He was there before. He delivered
yesterday. Big double, scored on a wild pitch. That's what they needed, a big bat.
Yeah, they just need a consistent bat. I know Riley's been consistent all year, home run wise, but just a little bit better average hitter, someone that can do more than just home runs. I know Suarez is a big home run hitter too, but he's definitely the grand prize in the bat in the trading sweepstakes. So yeah, good for them. And Naylor's no slouch either. So yeah, maybe they can get some continuity in the lineup, because they're a team that can go streaks of 1 run, no runs, 2 runs for a long time. So maybe this changes things. I wouldn't be opposed to 7-1 for the Mariners if you don't have anything on them as of now.
Reached the bottom of the 7th in Cincinnati. Still Reds 1-0. I was thinking under 3.5 might have been a good play. It did feel a little high. It's now 3. Overs minus 157. So that's something that is worth monitoring. And Chris, obviously jump in if you think there's a live line on Bet Rivers that you think would be interesting for our live audience. Yeah, I think under 3 is, I'm going to make that a live play. Under 3 plus 104. I think, 2-1 final would be a push. So I'm okay with that. So, obviously you don't want anything in the bottom half and all that. This game can end through 8.5. So I think that's worth something at plus 104 in my eyes. Of course, these teams put up 8 late in the game yesterday, each in a half inning. So who knows? Things can certainly go. But we have a game starting in less than 10 minutes. On the north side of Chicago, Cubs hosting the Orioles, some interleague action. Horton on the bump for the Cubbies, Rogers going for the Orioles. And right now at Bet Rivers, the Cubbies $1.62. It's a price tag, but this Cubs team's making a push. Orioles were sellers at the deadline despite going to the playoffs 2 years ago. Any opinion here?
Yeah, this is definitely Cubs are pass game for me. I mean, Cubs with the best run differential in the all of Major League Baseball, plus 113 runs. O's are minus 67. I think the O's just had their little end of the year celebration party, that 4-game series against Toronto, almost got the 4-game sweep. They were sellers. They gave up Cedric Mullins. They gave up O'Hearn, Laureano, a couple of different arms they gave up as well. So they're in full sell mode. I don't see this series going the Orioles' way. I know Trevor Rogers has pitched well lately, 4-1 with a 1.49, 2-0 on the road, 2.36. But you're going into Wrigley Field, different animal. He's going to get a little lucky today that the wind is blowing in. One guy that's hit him really well in the past, Dansby Swanson, 6 for 12 versus Rogers. But I'd be on the Cubs. Cade Horton's been solid, 4-3, 3.67, even better at home, 1-0 with a 2.12. And I just feel like the life's going to be sucked out of the Orioles team. They just sold. They got really nothing. They know they're not going anywhere this year. Half their teammate, half the lineup from yesterday's out of, is not even there anymore. So it would definitely be Cubs, one of the best home records in baseball, 33-19. Orioles struggled on the road all year, 23-32. I lean heavily towards the Cubs.
What about just because of what could be a team that's got the life sucked out of them, as you said? Would the Cubs alt lines be interesting? Just with instead of laying the $1.62, I feel like if the Cubs get them, it's going to be kind of a one-sided game. I just don't love the pitching matchup here. It doesn't grossly favor the Cubs, but that's what has my attention is the run line, something like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be inclined to play that with such a low total. The total's only 7. Like I mentioned, wind is blowing in there. So I would just I wouldn't get too fancy. I just feel like this could be a game where the Orioles, like I mentioned, half their lineup is not there from yesterday's lineup. So I'm not sure the Orioles, who haven't been knocking the cover off the ball all year, who they replace. I don't even know what the lineup is at the moment. I haven't checked the lineup, but I can anticipate the Orioles not scoring much in this game. Wind blowing in, decent pitcher on the hill. The one good thing they have in their favor is Rogers pitched well lately, but I just feel like the Cubs are no play for me.
I know, but Trevor Rogers, that's the thing. I just think he's the better pitcher. So that's what would give me a little like I wouldn't be shocked if the Orioles, 2-1 win or something like that, and Rogers throws great. But yeah, I agree with you. It'd be Cubs or pass in this one. Some other interesting matchups. We'll start in Philly. Tigers visiting the Phillies. Both teams, over double digits above 500. Flaherty goes for the Tigers. Suarez goes for Philadelphia. And I've joked that Flaherty is just the guy I can't bet on or against. Every time I do, I lose. Sort of the Brett Favre of my betting history. But $1.59, Phillies are favored at home, over under 7.5, slight juice to the over. The comeback on Flaherty in Detroit is plus 130. So, this is a team the Detroit team that was stormed out the gates, best record in baseball at one point not too long ago, did a tailspin, right? They go 1-6, 1-6. And then now they're coming off a nice 4-game stretch where they swept a series at home to Arizona, but that's Arizona. Going to Philly with Flaherty on the bump, much different ask facing Suarez. Do you think the Tigers have found their groove, or are the Phillies the side here?
Well, the Tigers have won 4 in a row. They're back at it. Flaherty hasn't been impressive. No one likes to back him. He's 6-10 with a high ERA, 4.5, and even worse on the road, 2-5 with a 6.28. But for some reason, he's pitched well against his Phillies lineup. Batting average of 161, pretty decent sample size. They're only 9 for 56. He has given up 3 homers, but one of the homers was to Schwarber, but he's held Schwarber in check 2 of 23. So one of the better hitters. And if you watch the Phillies, that game against the White Sox the other day, not too hot with the bats. I mean, not a great series for the Phillies. Phillies, they got that one loss in a row here. They're 33-19 at home. they do like to play good at home, but Suarez hasn't been too hot at home. He's 3-1, but a 4.15 ERA. Definitely not gonna play Philly. It'd be Detroit or pass. I don't want to get in front of a team with a 4-game win streak. I might look a little deeper into this game later. Possibly play the Tigers at plus money because I don't like what I'm seeing out of the Phillies bats lately. Although they made a big push, in the trade deadline, picking up Durant from the Twins. Great move. That was their biggest weakness, the bullpen. Awesome to pick up a move like that for a team contending. So it would definitely be Tigers a pass for me. A couple stats: Ibanez 2 for 3, Perez 2 for 3 versus Suarez. Like I mentioned, Schwarber 2 for 23 versus Flaherty. But the one guy that does hit him well, Castellanos 5 for 13 with a home run, coming in at 385 clip against Flaherty.
Okay. Interesting across the board. So I just is philosophical. We'll turn the page, get into other games. So when the Tigers were scuffling for as long as they have, and then they take care of business against Arizona at home, you put stock in that, even though they're going to Philly and it's a much different situation. You think they've sort of not necessarily righted the ship and are going on a run, but you think they're like okay, and you don't want to bet into them.
Correct. Well, I mentioned it on the show. I'm not sure if it was Monday or Tuesday. I go, I really want to fade Arizona team because they were getting the life sucked out of them. They knew everyone was getting traded. Detroit had won 1 in a row, and I'm like, I just can't get to it because of Casey Mize. Mize ended up pitching pretty good, and they just rolled through the Diamondbacks. So once you win 4 in a row, it doesn't. Everything else is forgotten about. You're not thinking about that 10 out of 12 that you lost. You're thinking about the winning streak, positive vibes. Guys are hitting again. Guys are pitching better. It doesn't matter who you play. I know it's a big bad Phillies, but the Phillies haven't been hitting great. Flaherty, for some reason, pitches well against them, and Suarez hasn't had a great ERA at home. So could be a recipe for a Tigers win.
Okay. And good explanation there. By the way, 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th for Cincy, and we have a home run. Will Benson goes yard for the Reds, and now it's 3-0 Cincinnati. So that under 3.5 on life support right now, but obviously now extra innings, very unlikely. So the adjusted total is 4 now. So overs juice minus 150. So they're saying there's a chance there's only 1 run, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. Okay. So let's get to some other marquee games. Your Boston Red Sox hosting the Astros, and Hunter Brown goes for Houston. The AL West just got very interesting with the Mariners moves that we mentioned. So Cooper Criswell is going to go for Boston. Looks like a little bit of an opener. What do you have here with the Astros? Obviously, sizable favorites at minus $139. Not too sizable, I should say.
Yeah, Cooper Criswell. It's his first start this year. I believe his first start in his career. He's only pitched 10 2/3 innings with a 5 ERA. And the at-bats against the Astros not looking in Cooper's way. They're 8 for 18 at a 444 clip. It's not someone you really want to get behind. But if you look at the flip side of it, play a little devil's advocate here. Hunter Brown, in his last 5 starts, 26 innings pitched, 27 hits, 16 earned runs, and not against the best teams. A's, the line, not against the best lineups. The Rangers lineup wasn't hitting. The A's lineup so iffy sometimes. Cleveland, Seattle, Colorado. So this guy's been getting roughed up a bunch. I know he started off the season amazing. He had a sub 1.5 ERA. His ERA is up to 2.54 now. On the road, 2.70. And the Red Sox, in small sample size, 5 for 15, hitting 333 against them. I just think it's a little bit different animal. You come into Fenway, one of the best home records in baseball, 34-21. Red Sox kept their group together. I know Criswell's not a household name, but for me, it would be Red Sox or pass. I wouldn't want to bet against the Red Sox at home. They've been really solid at home. I think the fans are going to be pumped up. They're back they've been on the road for a bit, so we'll see what happens. It'd be Red Sox or pass. I don't have a bet at this point.
Okay, yeah, and pitching the Green Monster is not easy. No, it just isn't. And we know Giolito struggled once the beginning of the year, just kind of getting used to the surroundings with the Green Monster in left. I forget the rookie that we talked about, but somebody made his big league debut at Fenway. It actually pitched well, so who knows? But yeah, I think the Astros lineup's a little shaky, so that would give me pause. but I wouldn't want any piece of Boston. But that's what the spread. I mean, the money line's there for, so it can be, the great equalizer, as we like to say. MLB Network, Giants visit the Mets. Intriguing matchup with Robbie Ray going for San Francisco, David Peterson on the bump for the Mets. And I'm not saying New York's a Mets town all of a sudden, but they have a big fan base. And what the Yankees are doing or not doing is pretty disappointing to Yanks fan base, although they've added a lot of spare parts. But this over under 7.5 juice to the under. Mets minus $1.50 here. Giants have just been blah of late, and riding a 6-game skid. And I don't know if going to New York to face the Mets in game 1 is the solution for this losing streak.
No, I would totally agree with you there. You just got swept 6 straight. The Mets came and it was the Mets that swept in the first 3. Now they're playing the Mets again, but they also got swept by the Pirates. So not a good stretch. They made the Devers trade. They're the worst team in baseball since the Devers trade. So I wouldn't expect San Fran to, I don't know if they're going to put up much of a fight. I know Ray's a solid pitcher, but, San Fran's 300 on the road, 300, 500 on the road, and the Mets 37 and 16, top 2 teams in baseball at home. Peterson's been pretty solid, 7-4 with a 2.83 ERA, even better at home, 5-0, 1.91. It'd be Mets or pass for me. A couple of stats here. Newly picked up Cedric Mullins, 4 for 12 versus Ray, and Starling and Marte, 9 for 25 versus May. So if you're playing props, those are 2 guys you might want to look at if that's success against Robbie Ray.
So, by the way, Juan Soto is expected to be in the lineup today. Obviously, he got nicked up, but the manager for the Mets said they avoided they dodged a bullet there. So it could have been really disastrous. I do like the Mets. I mean, Giants are 9 games back of the Dodgers, a game under 500. To your point, Robbie Ray, solid. I'm looking to bet maybe the Mets later in the weekend, run line if it has to be, but I just don't want to get into – it's kind of like my issue with the Orioles and Cubs, right? The better team, more good juju and everything, but the other team's got the better pitcher, the better starter. So that's what's giving me pause here, and the $1.50 price tag, right? And that's what it was with the Cubs. It was actually a little higher. So I'm itching to lay it with the Mets. But I'm not going.
You're not going to bet. How are you going to bet San Fran off a 6-game losing streak? Yeah. Basically said they're selling. They sold off a couple arms, didn't pick up anyone. They're flying cross country. Probably had a little night out in the town last night, and I just don't see much life in this team. They haven't been hitting. Rays, he's solid, but 5-3, 3.4 on the road. It's not that lights out, and the Mets are so solid at home. The one caveat is Devers actually hits Peterson really well, 5 for 13. So if you had one inkling to play a prop on the Giants side, I would lean you towards Rafi Devers.
All right, I'll lay it. Mets minus $1.50. You're right. First game, Giants cross country. They should come in with a feeble effort. I mean, part of me wants to just also do like the team total or something like that. You just need a nice, performance out of Peterson, but like, the Giants minus 134 under 3.5 is tempting as well. I don't think much of this lineup at all. So, gosh, that is tempting. But I'll just stick with the minus 150 with the Mets. Okay. The aforementioned Mariners hosting the Rangers. They get game 1 in shutout fashion last night, 6-0. Suarez delivers. I believe he scored the game's first run, if I remember correctly. Gilbert's going for Seattle, and then countering with the Rangers is Leiter. So the young kid, Jack Leiter, going 25-year-old, and the Mariners are obviously favored here. $1.90 price tag. Now, I like this Rangers squad. I think they're going to be tough if they can get into the postseason, but I don't know if this is the right spot. I think the Mariners have a solid home field advantage, all things considered, with the environment. There's a lot of buzz in the crowd and everything with the lineups, the addition to the lineup. And look, Raleigh went yard yesterday. I mean, there's a lot of that lineup's now legit.
Yeah, I would. I don't like to lay big numbers, but I think this number's right because Leiter is, he's shaky at best on the road, 4.65 ERA, 2-4 record, and the opponents are batting .316 against him. And one guy who really crushes them is Julio Rodriguez. 6 for 11, 2 home runs versus Leiter. So if you're looking for some props tonight, I would lean towards Julio Rodriguez. I know 190 is a tough one, but Gilbert's really been solid against this Texas lineup at a huge sample size, 34 for 202 with a 168 average. He's only given up 6 home runs and 202 at bats. So really solid. Gilbert's been lights out at home with a 1.94 ERA. It's tough to lay 190, but maybe you use it in a parlay leg or you play some props on Julio Rodriguez. But Texas lineup, I mean, they came out to – they're just not a good road team. Let's just face the facts. You know, they came out on a really big hot streak. They won 6 in a row. They're going to lowly Anaheim to play the Angels, and they just can't get the bats going. And I don't understand it. It's just they have a solid lineup. They have young guys. They have veterans. One guy who has hit Gilbert pretty good is Seager, 8 for 25, 320 average with a home run. But the rest of the lineup, it's just not much consistency. Haven't been putting up the numbers expected. You know, I was hoping Texas would make a run. I have some futures on them. I don't have anything on Seattle. But the way I watched that game last night, Texas was just a lifeless lineup again.
Yeah.
And Seattle has all the juju, all the buzz. You're right. They made the moves, got 2 hitters, and the pitching's always been there. So it would be Seattle or pass. Gilbert, you know, Gilbert's been solid, especially against the Rangers and especially at home.
You alluded to the road ERA for Leiter. What about the you know, trying to think of the golf parallel? It's like recent course form, you know, recent history or whatever, recent form. But he has 2 outings, 2 starts against this Mariners lineup. Now it's a different lineup. Obviously, the Mariners have added a couple bats, but both games were at home. One pitched great, 6 innings, 1 earned, and the other got rocked, 6 earned and 4 1/3. How much stock do you put in that the Mariners lineup has seen him, albeit in a different venue? And you know, he's young. Obviously, he's allowed to evolve, but so is the Seattle lineup. It's a different lineup now.
Yeah, no, I think the more familiarity is better for the hitter. And I just go back to this Texas. I mean, Texas Rangers, everyone was hot. Last week, they were the hottest team, and everyone was betting them in futures. But you look at their road record, it's 23 and 33. I mean, that is not what you call playoff quality. You know, you try to win 60 to 65% of your games at home and try to go 500 on the road. That was always the goal, I remember. You know, Texas just really struggles on the road, especially hitting on the road, as shown last night. So we'll see what happens tonight. I could not get behind Leiter, and I'm not feeling the way the Texas bats are going. It would definitely be Seattle or pass, and I would be looking at some Julio Rodriguez's props.
Okay. By the way, Cade Horton did allow 2 runners on base in the first, but he gets out of the jam. So we're headed to the bottom of the first at Wrigley Field, still scoreless. So those nerfy bettors got a little nervous, 1 out, 2 on, but the Orioles are unable to score. So we're bottom half of the first. Couple of the games that caught my eye. Let's start in Tampa with the Rays hosting the Dodgers. Kershaw has actually been better than I thought he would be this year. Just because I didn't expect much, and he's been shaky, you know, this latter part of his career. So he's on the bump for LA. Baz going for Tampa. You know, it's a Dodgers lineup that's sort of in cruise control, but it's not really. Only Ohtani's been raking. Freeman's finally, you know, he's delivered. I shouldn't say finally, but he's delivered of late as well. Shockingly, Dodgers are road chalk here, minus 136. I would back LA if it were like a $1.20, $1.25. I just don't want to get involved at a $1.36.
Yeah, I don't have any play on this game. Kershaw, like you said, he's been better than expected. Baz has been really rough at home, 5-3, but it's 6.33 ERA. So maybe that tends to lean towards an over because he gets a lot of run support at home to have a 5-3 record. One guy that hits Kershaw pretty good is Yandy Diaz, 5 for 12 at 417. No one really in the Dodgers lineup has faced Baz except Teoscar Hernandez. He's 1 for 4. So, you know, Tampa's got a decent home record, 31-28. Dodgers are 28-25 on the road. I don't really feel either way in this game. You know, you don't like to go against the Dodgers because you know their lineup is at any point can really get hot. But I feel like, I don't know, it feels like Mookie Betts has that same illness that Porzingis had. He doesn't look right. He's popping up everything or striking out. He almost looks like he's washed up or something. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't think he ever recovered from that viral infection he had when they were playing in the Japan or Korea series. And like you said, Freeman, you know, he gets hot once in a while. It just hasn't been the same lineup that we've seen. It's even in the first month of the season, they were really hitting well. You know, they're just not hitting like they used to hit. They're not scoring as many runs, and you can't rely on these big outburst innings. It just hasn't happened in a while. And with all the injuries they have to the pitching staff, I just can't believe that they're still minus 1,100 to win the division when they're only up by 3 games. So no play on this game. Maybe look at a Yandy Diaz prop or just steer clear of it altogether.
1 out double in the gap for Matt Olson. Now 2 runners in scoring position for Atlanta. 2nd and 3rd, 1 out, top 8. Still 3-0 Reds, but the Braves are threatening. So maybe we're getting those late fireworks, all things considered. So 2 up, 2 down at Wrigley for the Cubs lineup. Trevor Rogers pitching well. Can I interest you in a inning bet for the 2nd inning? Under a half run, minus 182. With the, Orioles got some runners on. So the bottom half of the lineup with Horton on the bump and then Trevor Rogers in a groove. Now the Cubs back half or middle of the lineup's much better. PCA and some of those big bats are not at the top of the lineup.
Doug, I bet enough stuff. I'm not going to stop betting inning bets in the 2nd inning. I will hard pass. Hard pass.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to throw it out there. It's always fun to have some action on the show. Let's go to Cleveland, where Gavin Williams is on the bump, but I think the storyline here is Joe Ryan, still a Minnesota Twin, obviously involved in trade rumors. Minnesota gave away almost everyone except Buxton and Ryan. So if you're a starting pitcher and you're involved in trade rumors, and every time there's an alert and the Twins are trading a guy, but it's not you, what's your focus now coming into Cleveland facing this Guardians roster? I mean, there's got to be a human element to the handicap here, as Cleveland is a slight 122 home fave.
I thought about this a lot today, and I was like, do you think Ryan's like geared up to pitch great, or he's just, he's going to just mail it in? I can't believe he's going to mail it in. You kind of got to think, hey, they couldn't get what they wanted from me. That means I'm really valuable. I'm going to go out and pitch good. You got to feel like a Nerfy is a good angle here. I know it's a little bit high. I think I saw 160. But I feel like who's going to be in the Twins lineup? They traded the whole team away. I heard they only have like 2 or 3 players signed through 2026. I mean, what a just complete fire sale. Buxton is still there, probably their best offensive guy, and Ryan, their best starter. But wow, they got rid of the rest of the team. But I would tend to lean towards team total under on the Twins, 3.5, maybe an under first 5 innings. Ryan's been really solid, 10-5, 2.82. And maybe a Nerfy, because I don't see much in the Twins lineup, and Cleveland doesn't really hit the ball that well either. So it depends on his mindset. And I guess we're not going to know until the first pitch is thrown if he has it or not. But you would figure like, hey, they didn't trade me because I'm too valuable. So maybe he thinks that's a reason to pitch well tonight. I'm just not sure. I was mad because I thought he was coming to Boston, and the tweets were out there by John Morosi that he was, and then it turns out his tweet was deleted and the Red Sox couldn't get the deal done. So frustrating on all angles.
You can't trust a tweet. What can you do? By the way, the Reds get out of the jam. Austin Riley strikes out. Baldwin lines out to center. So 2 on and 1 out. Braves don't score. My under 3.5 still alive. So we have, in theory, 6 more outs to go because the Reds are the home team. So we're bottom 8 now. We'll keep an eye on that one. In terms of Joe Ryan, and I would imagine there's scouting and you're prepping for your start, right? And you're going through some just the scouting. I'm not saying he's mailing it in, but I just wonder if he did the same prep yesterday. So that would be my concern. To your point, I would watch live, and if he's as sharp as can be, I'd be betting under innings, each inning, things like that. I'd be looking to do that because you're right. The Twins lineup is what's left over on the scrap heap, and then the Guardians lineup's nothing special. And they made some moves as well. So I would be looking. The over-under of 7 makes a lot of sense, but I would have to watch Joe Ryan in the first inning and listen to the analyst, who's usually a former pitcher, former catcher. Those are things that would interest me. But this is a textbook live betting game in my eyes.
Yeah, I would agree with you. If he comes up, if you're watching the game early and you're ready to live bet, and he looks a little off, maybe you just go right to the overs. You play live overs because maybe. Who else are the Twins bringing in? They traded away half their bullpen as well. So, I mean, the team
Buxton's not going to see a pitch all day. You should probably bet his props under.
Yeah.
What are you going to throw him?
Yeah, bet if you have an accessibility to it, bet Buxton walk prop. You figure he's going to at least get 1 walk. Why would they even pitch to him?
Like that. Very sharp stuff. But this is interesting because this is what happens. Odds makers have what 40, 50 props they're going to put up for every game. And this is the angles you take because it's all statistically driven, especially a sport like baseball, so heavy on stats. These are the, weaknesses of the narrative where the narrative really applies the day after the trade deadline. Let's go to where you are, based in San Diego. The Padres hosting the Cardinals. Pivetta on the bump. Liberatore going for St. Louis. And I think the Bull said it the other day. He's like, I can't believe the Cardinals record. I just thought they kind of stink, and but they're 500, and they were over 500 the other day when he said it. But you have 4 teams in the NL Central that are 500 or better. Obviously, the Brewers paving the way, but that's a tight race. In terms of this matchup, Pods at home, it's a tight line. Any interest here for a team that, could make a push, made a lot of moves, all things considered?
Well, I've been on the Padres a bunch, and this week, and I'm gonna be on the Padres again. They've won 5 in a row, one of the best home records in baseball, 34-18. Cardinals 23-31 on the road, losers of 2 in a row. Liberatore, not one of my favorites, 6-8 with a 4.04 ERA, and then you got Pivetta, the ex-Red Sox, who I wasn't too high on coming to Petco and the Padres, but he's been absolutely fantastic at home, 6-0, 2.07 ERA. Opponents are batting for the Cardinals only 133 against them. So I'm going to be on the Padres tonight. Small sample size, but Merrill, Cronenworth, and Manny Machado have all hit Liberatore pretty well. The one guy who always seems to pop up in props for St. Louis is Wilson Contreras. He's only faced Pivetta once, but 1 for 1. The guy seems to hit a lot of starting pitches really well. So definitely like the Padres tonight. St. Louis, they kind of sold off a bunch of players. Padres picked up everyone going for it. I feel like that'll give them a little extra juice tonight. The stadium's always got the extra juice at Petco. So it'd be definitely Padres or pass, and I'm going to be on the Padres.
Okay, so $1.82 right now at Bet Rivers for that one. As we round out the show, I only touched on, I don't know, half the games or so. Any other plays the games we didn't mention that stand out?
I didn't really dig in too deep other than the ones that we talked about. Interesting to see what happens with the Yankees. They made a lot of moves, but I picked up on what you said. It felt like they picked up a lot of spare parts. Like there was, a 4th infielder, a 4th outfielder, a 3rd setup guy. It wasn't anything that really moved the needle for me. They picked up Vinny Bednar. I felt like Vinny Bednar has trouble pitching in clutch situations in Pittsburgh. How's he going to deal with it at Yankee Stadium? And when he screws up the first time, the media, I don't think some of these moves were that big of a deal. I would not be laying the Yankees I would not lay the Yankees minus 190 against anyone the rest of the year. That is an absurd number.
Kind of like the Marlins. They're a decent team.
Yeah. I mean, that is just an absurd number. I guess you just get the number because it's the Yankees, and enough people bet them. Everyone's seen the stats going on. Action Network had the stat this week about they're the worst team in any division versus their opponents in the division. It's like a minus 1,300 if you just bet them, straight $100 every game. It's just crazy that the prices they keep making the Yankees. I don't see it, especially without Judge.
Don's going for New York. And by the way, the Orioles 6, 7, 8 batters went 3 up, 3 down. So now we're headed to the middle of the lineup for the Cubs. Trevor Rogers, that no-run second inning, minus 182, looking pretty good because the comeback is like plus 2 something. But this is live betting that I do. I actually do. If it's the bottom of the lineup and a pitcher looked good early, we talked about Joe Ryan. And Gavin Williams, I would look to do that. Nerfies are fun because it's a cool name. You can talk about them all day. But second run, second inning, third inning, these are all sort of angles you can do. And frankly, I jokingly tweeted about it yesterday. I said, did anyone have a live bet on the Reds draw for the 8th inning of that game? Because you give up an 8th spot in the top of the 8th because you could bet under a half or you can just bet draw. And the draw is like 20 cents higher usually, but you get the 1-1, maybe the 2-2. Or in this case, last night it was 8-8. You win the draw after getting up on the 3-way line, after giving up 8 runs in the top of the 8th. So these are angles you could do live betting. It makes things interesting. The speed of baseball is conducive to betting, right? You could, the break, golf is like that. The break between action. You can get wagers in and make it interesting. But these are all angles. I think you can bet a first 5. You can bet something after the first inning if you like what Joe Ryan looks like. But I agree. The Marlins would be the only side I would play. I'm not pulling the trigger, but that obviously caught my attention. So anything else before we let the people go?
I do not have anything else of variable importance at all. I just I do like the teams. I would just say this. I know they're all favorites, but I do like the teams who made moves while the other teams are going on the road that didn't make moves. So it's why I like the Padres. It's why I like the Mets, and it's why I like the Cubs earlier, because I just feel like the 3 other teams, they know their seasons, it's not over. They still have to play out the string, but I feel like the initial shock of, hey, the trade deadline just happened. Oh, a bunch of my buddies aren't on the team anymore. We're going to another city with a team who's better than us, has a good home record, picked up a bunch of guys, is ready to rock. So just an angle for today. I'm not gonna just blindly bet that, but I just felt like the Orioles, the Cardinals, and San Francisco Giants are teams that are just kind of waving the white flag on the season.
All right. Sounds good. Obviously, we're keeping an eye on things. Ooh, Cubs get the leadoff batter on. Now PCA's up with nobody out facing Trevor Rogers. In Cincinnati, 2 up, 2 down, bottom 8. So my under 3.5 plus money looking okay. I don't want to put a cart before the horse there, given what happened last night, but they're through 8 now. So I need to just survive a half inning going to the top of the 9th. Braves last at bats down 3-0. That's going to do it for this edition of Betting Weekly Hardball. We should also mention plenty of promos. You got to check it out with the prop packs. Get extra value this summer with prop packs exclusively at Bet Rivers. Opt into the prop packs promotion for your chance to earn profit boost, bonus credits, and more when you place MLB same game parlays. Just see the Bet Rivers app for full details and go from there. Bat Flip Friday, by the way, I should have mentioned this earlier. Opt in at Bet Rivers and place a $10 wager on any player to hit a home run, and you'll receive a profit boost of up to 100%. See the Bet Rivers app for full details. So maybe he's taking some of Chris's good tracking, history with a batter against a pitcher and maybe deliver there. So Betting Weekly, fast break, top of the hour. Wes Reynolds in the house. We have a bunch of games in the W. Really interesting scheduling spots and situational handicapping. We'll break it all down. But until then, for Chris, I'm Doug, and for everyone else behind the scenes, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you back here next week for Betting Weekly Hardball, which is Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Good luck tonight and the rest of the weekend.